welcome to Becoming a Better You podcast. So today I have Sensei Robert Shea. So we're going to talk about a couple different things, martial arts, his business through COVID, stuff like that. So Bobby, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So before we start, how long have you been training with me?
14, 15 years maybe?
Before I had gray hair?
Yep, it was at the old school.
So take me back. I know we've talked before, but not on this podcast. Take me back to why you started the martial arts.
I started martial arts because I've always had a super fear of fighting. I've always been fascinated by it. Always been fascinated by the kids that always get in fights in school. And I don't know, I've always, Bruce Lee movies, just the whole shebang. I've always been fascinated by it.
So you say fascinated and fearful.
Yes.
Can you explain more?
Yeah, because it can... Like fighting, I believe it's in our DNA as men or humans. Actually, I don't know if women fight much, but maybe verbally, but like physically, I feel like.
Well, I think back in the day, it was men who did the fighting.
Yeah,
right. For the most part, I would assume.
I feel it's very primal, and I just feel you always see it like from 17, 18, 19, you're always ready to go off and be violent, and it's always scared me to death, but always fascinated me too. Like, I just can't really explain it.
So I think nowadays, we teach in the martial arts that there's nothing good that can come from any physical altercation, right? You always want to try to walk away or run away, right? Even as a training of 20 years, like, cool. So I can defend myself, but if I don't have to, or if I can use my words, or if I can buy them a drink, just do that.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm only using my physical tools if I can't escape it any other way.
Yeah.
Right. So then tell me more about, so how did you start training then? I think it was your sister that actually.
Yeah, my sister asked me what I wanted for Christmas. And I said I want a membership to a martial arts school. And I don't know how she found you, but she found you. And it was kind of funny because it was right. I grew up not too far from your original school, and then I moved around, but it was right back there. So I don't know how she found you. I don't know if she Googled.
Well, I think when
Google around then?
Yeah, it might not have been. It might have been like those telephones where you have the rotary phones.
Yeah, I don't know how she found you. But found you.
I think the universe puts people together when they're supposed to be together, and we've become really good friends. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that you're probably one of the most genuine people I know. Right? I always know what to expect. Like, we've been through ups and downs together. So over the 15 years, so now we're training for a second degree black belt. Yeah. What has been the biggest change in you from the person who started till now?
Confidence. The ability to study. I was a terrible student in school. So with your martial arts, it's a very, very book oriented, where you got to study the techniques. It's not just like you have a lesson plan.
There's a system.
Where like there are other martial arts that have systems, but it's kind of like, we'll just work on this today. It's just kind of going from there, where yours is like, we basically, I remember back in the day, we used to know what week it was.
Now we trained.
It was grappling week. It was, sticks. It put me in that mindset. I was a terrible student.
Yeah, I think it's skill stacking, right? So you build on what you do. And there's ways to be said about, I taught a lot of times, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
But when you want to grow your art or be able to teach it to other people, you need a system. Yeah. It's the same in business, which we'll talk about in a little bit. You can't just open the doors to your barbershop and just be like, okay, I'm just going to cut it like this today.
Yeah.
Right. There has to be some kind of system. So we have all this confidence, right? I know we had done some talks, and then you decide you want to start your own business.
Well, first I wanted to switch careers, because I worked at UPS forever and I didn't want to be a driver. Didn't know what I wanted to do. And then a friend asked me to come get a haircut at barber school. I went home, told my wife about it, and she was my girlfriend at the time. And she's like, why don't you be a barber? And I was like, hey, I don't know if I could do that. And because I was already in my 30s. So I said, screw it, and did it. And then.
So how did so that's a huge change, right? Yeah. But do you think if you didn't have the confidence of being a martial artist and the discipline of being a martial artist, that you could have done that in your 30s?
No.
Why not?
I because you get in a rut.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I always say there's like people who come into my life. Like there's, like I met you, then my dad died. And then I kind of didn't really, I was kind of lost, and you were, come in, that, I sliced my hand right after that too. You called me up, you're like, hey, you can still kick. So I came in, was doing that. And then at the same time, I found my other idol, Joe Rogan. And, but I remember I was listening to Eddie Bravo, and Eddie Bravo was saying how he worked at UPS and how he didn't want to, that, you know, everybody was kind of, because it's a rough, going postal is a real thing. Like that's not like, I never understood that term, but now I get it, because it's every day you have to get people's packages up. They're expecting it, especially now with Amazon. They expect it in 2 days. So it was very stressful. I saw how my friends were very stressed and just miserable and getting into bad habits of either drinking 3-4 things of coffee a day or eating terrible because you're on your own. And I was like, I don't want to do that. You
wanted more for your life.
Wanted more. So Eddie Bravo was saying that, and then I think I told you about that, and you're like, do it, just go. So I went and learned a whole new career. And then I remember there was a guy, Jay Majors. He's a big influence in the barber world. And he came in and he was like, yeah, the rich barber is the barber that owns the whole building. So then I was like, all right. So then from you, goal setting, I was like, that's my next goal. Like I want to become a barber, establish myself, open a business, and then buy the building. And
you're well on your way.
Yeah. And then COVID happened.
So, and this is the thing. So I remember me, you, Marchetti.
Yep. Marchetti's restaurant, Cranston, home of the chicken parm.
The best chicken parm ever down. So I know we would talk a lot and I want to talk about this. Because I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, you own your own business, there's things that you go through that your other friends who you grew up with might not understand, not to any fault of their own. It's just because they don't have their own business. So I know all three of us got close because you have different things. Can you tell me the effect of opening your own business had on your friends and like with your relationship with them?
Yeah, I'm kind of going through that right now where, yeah, they're not going to, say, throwing out a name. It's not an actual friend, but like say Jim. I'm like, hey, Jim, I can't believe that customer told me, that haircut was wrong. And then they were 35 minutes late for their haircut. And I couldn't get that done. How do they expect me to get that haircut done that they wanted in 25 minutes? I got another customer coming in. Or can you believe they raised this tax? Like, can you believe there was no funding for this? Can you believe?
And they can't relate.
Oh, they have no idea. They don't understand the stress too. Like that's and my home life, that was during the whole COVID, that was a very stressful thing. And I felt bad that I didn't have anybody to really, like, I don't want to spill that onto my wife, like she's probably in her own thing trying to make us all not get sick,
Yeah.
So then I reached out to you and I was like, dude, and you're like, just talk to me. Yeah. Just talk to me. So yeah, I talked to you. I talked to my buddy Marco, RSM Electric, amazing electricians. If you guys need an electrician, one of my sponsors. But
he has to pay me now.
Yeah, it's all right. The check's in the mail. He'll give you an extra recessed lighting or something. But yeah, it's weird. The friends that I've gravitated towards, I sometimes feel like I'm, I don't know. Well, not really, because I am a friend that will reach out to somebody once in a while.
Yeah, of course you will.
But yeah, I do feel it's definitely a different transition of friendships and stuff in a good way,
Well, I think we evolve. And then the people that are around us are the ones that need to lift us up, right? Or confide in. Mm-hmm. And I remember telling Marchetti, I was like, I really have to give Bobby props. We went out to dinner a month ago. And I was like, Bobby started his business right before COVID.
Yeah.
And now you had me.
October,
right? So you had me. So I've been teaching him at 16. Before COVID, it was about 6 years of like a full-time business. Obviously, Marchetti, since he was a child, right? Yeah. Family business. But here's you. You start up a business in another state, and then COVID hits.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, well, it all started, me and my wife, we had a son, and we were like, yeah, we're definitely outgrowing our condo. We had 2 dogs too. So we went to, financial people, and we were talking to them, and they're like, hey, so what's your 5-year goal? And I said, well, in 5 years, I definitely want to open a business too. So we refinanced. She looked at it and she's like, wow, you only owe like, I think it was like 30 grand or something like that. And she's like, we can refinance this and you can get your business and you can pay off all your bills. And I was like, that's awesome. All right, sweet. So we started a new business and I was working at a place and I knew
as a barber,
and I knew I was leaving, still working at UPS, still at UPS right now. But I knew I was leaving. So I had this I felt terrible because I had this secret. And while I'm working, that my days off, I'm putting in floors, I'm painting. Well, my buddy Chris and my wife, thank goodness they helped me paint because I'm terrible at that. But we built this from the ground up. Didn't know what I was doing. Was talking to my tax man. He's telling me step by step what I got to do. State of Massachusetts, got to give them big props because they just give you a paper of A, B, C, D, what to do.
Get it done.
Got it done. We opened up. I remember it was December. I was getting ready to go to UPS. I just finished doing a haircut. I'm in the bathroom doing my Superman thing, getting dressed. And I had my phone on Instagram. And I had it on Vice News. And it was in Wuhan, China. And they're building it. And I thought it was on high speed. I was like, wow, they're building that really fast. But it was no, this is actual speed.
What were they building?
They were building a hospital. And wait, what? This might be more, because we had SARS and stuff like that, but it was, we never really, might have affected people, but not us. And I went out and I said to the other barber, I'm like, I think something bad's happening. And then fast forward, it's everybody started doing the 2-week curve thing. And I'm reached out to a few of my friends who have shops. I'm like, you guys are closing for 2 weeks? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I can't. I just opened. I got bills, man. And
because you had no money coming in.
I have no money coming in.
And you just refinanced your house and you have a kid and a wife.
I was brand new. I was brand new business. It wasn't like now where every hour I got somebody in or a half hour. It was literally do a haircut, sit for a little bit, someone come in. How long you been here? Just opened up. Sit down, haircut. And then I think it was March 21st. It was right after St. Patty's Day. It was a Saturday, we were cleaning up, and my buddy said to me, he's like, hey man, his girlfriend's Rachel. He's like, Rachel's mom, she owns a beauty business, and she's like, yeah, we're going to have to close on Monday, starting Monday. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, man. I was like, I didn't hear anything like that. He's like, yeah. He's like, and he showed me the email that she got, and I was like, holy. So we closed. I couldn't I was such a new business, I couldn't get any financial help.
That's right.
Because I was working at UPS and I was working more because I had no job, during the day, I didn't qualify for unemployment.
So
I didn't have anything. I was selling hats and t-shirts. I was you
were hustling.
I was Fozzie, I was Chris Jericho. I was out selling t-shirts and hats.
I think I bought one.
Oh yeah, and it was a crazy business because I had my wife during the day because I felt bad she was stuck at home.
Because she was out of work.
So I'm like, hey, do you want to be my delivery driver? She's getting yelled at by people in Massachusetts for her Rhode Island license plate.
Oh, because you're not supposed to be in the list.
Yeah, it was Mad Max, man. It was really scary. It was scary.
So for me, it's a little bit different, right? Because I already was established. I had a team. We had a plan in place. But you didn't.
No.
And I don't have a wife and kids. So how do you deal with that? How did you deal with that?
Terribly.
Okay, tell me.
Yeah, I was stressed. I was, it was bad. I might cry now. It was really bad. It was very stressful. Yeah, I didn't even know how to handle it. It was bad.
What do you think?
Anger.
Yeah.
Lost. I remember I took 2 weeks. In May, we get our new days at UPS. We get all our days back. And I took 2 weeks vacation back to back. I've never done that in my life. And I remember the second week, my wife was like, yeah, you need to get back to work. You're miserable. You gotta, and I didn't know how to express the stress that I had. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't working out. I wasn't, because we couldn't. I felt like I was getting fat. Like she was making a lot of comfort food, a lot of like meatloaf and mashed potatoes. And
do you think a lot of people went through that during COVID?
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. Well, when I got back to work, I remember one of my clients, he's a firefighter, and he's like, man, I've never been to so many like suicides and regular, like pulling up to a beautiful house, so it was very dark. And it was weird too, because at UPS, it was normal. Everything was normal.
Yeah, right.
Like it didn't exist. Nothing against them. Like they did, like people wear masks and stuff, but it was business as usual. Just we were wearing masks. So it was really odd. And I remember my buddy Adam bought a house during COVID. Like he signed the papers like digitally, and he was like, I can't even show people my house. Like, so it was a really, and I don't think people are over it. No. I went to Elton John. I told you about that. It was just a different vibe.
You didn't tell me that.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
You told me you went.
Yeah.
What
was
the
a
vibe?
very different vibe. It was just some people with a I don't care attitude. There's no common. It was no common courtesy. It was very
everyone for themselves.
Yes.
Survival mindset.
Very survival mindset. Very I've been stuck in my house. I'm going to do what I want type of thing. Like, and it was very weird because I surround myself with very, like, I'm, I've been telling you, I'm super into yoga and stuff. So I'm very like energy. I'm into energy now, which is kind of wild. That's another thing I can't even talk to my friends about. They probably think
How long have I been telling you that?
Oh, forever. You've been telling about energy forever. Like he's been onto this energy for a long, long time.
Yeah.
There's a side of Mark that nobody really knows that I know, and it's pretty wild, but in a good way. But yeah, it was different, man. It was very like I keep saying Mad Max. It was very Mad Max.
So during that time, we're going through COVID.
Yeah.
You're stressed out. You had a big business. You had a new business rather. How did our relationship in the dojo, right? Mm-hmm. And we did when we could do some training, we did training.
Yeah.
How did that help you? And the reason I ask that is because for me, people, now the joke is that Mark's married to the business, right? But the truth is that my business and the martial arts have been with me my whole adult life.
So you know.
And so the only thing, I have a lot of constants in my life, but it's one of those constants that's always there for me. Yeah. So, breakups, whatever I'm going through, like I can always go to my own dojo and train. Or I have other people there. So it's always...
I can even go to your dojo.
You can always go to my dojo.
I come here sometimes.
But it's just that whole, like, I have something in my life that's my rock.
It's a family.
Right? How did training help you during that process? We know physical activity helps with stress.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny thing. So I struggle with that because I work so much that I feel I don't train enough. And when I do train...
Well, you called me today to train. We weren't supposed to train.
Yeah. Yeah. It worked out perfect. And it's my yang, man. It's my yin and my yang. I need it. Like I never realized how much I need it. I guess I'm a machine. I just need to blow off steam. And I don't realize, growing up, my dad had a super duper temper. And I remember he bought that Everlast punching bag. And I was like, what is this guy doing? And I never understood. And he would come home and he'd be in his, take his tie off and throw some jabs and some, but then when he didn't have that punching bag, he'd be, put the gloves on, let's spar. But I see you need it. As human beings, you need it. I talked to a guy from Scotland a couple of weeks ago, and when we were in New Hampshire, and he told me, and this blew my mind, if they couldn't go outside for an hour of recreation.
It's like being in jail.
But I'm like, or first of all, how do you enforce that? Second of all, isn't being outside... I thought we were supposed to be outside. So I don't know. And granted, I'm not going to get into the whole geopolitics of it or anything, but it's just it's weird. We, as humans, we need exercise.
And we also need to see people.
We need to see people. And I think the damage is really bigger than we think. And I think that, did we make society now where we're just going to be all inside and working inside and just on our computers and, I hope not, man. I really hope not. But it's just I don't know. I needed it. I needed it. I never. I think a lot of people too. I think I've noticed, like, especially with your kickboxing, it's tons of people. Like, everybody just wants to get out and just. I noticed at the beach this summer, like, it's just everybody's just out, and it's beautiful.
So I think the thing for me is that, you first start lifting weights because you want to get girls, right? Then I started lifting weights pretty much for the martial arts.
Yeah.
Then you start lifting weights because I don't want to be sore, right? Because, if you've been training in the martial arts for a while, when you wake up in the morning, man, like, you're stiff, you're sore, you've been thrown down to the mat, whatever. Now I work out for my mental health, right? Because even today, I went on the treadmill before I came here, the elliptical, but it's to keep myself level, to blow off that stress. And that's a lot of times where I get, like, my inspiration, or like, I need to do this. Let me message this person while I'm doing my elliptical, right? So it's at this level of my evolution, it's almost silly to me how people actually don't work out. Because when you don't work out or do something and follow your passion, life is mundane. It's stressful. It's boring, right? But you can work out 45 minutes a day, half hour a day, and get your blood flowing and relieve the stress and feel good about yourself and see people, right? You need to take time for yourself. And I think a lot of people, especially you were in this for a while, working so much, you weren't balanced.
No.
So let's talk about, we're hopefully through COVID right now, for the most part. What did you learn from COVID?
Family. But staying in your, like, not just your tribe, like, really focusing on keeping the tribe happy, yourself happy, your friends happy, just being, just being happy, being calm. So that's what I learned from it. Being calm, going with the flow.
Staying in the eye of the storm.
Staying in it. Yeah, just riding the wave. Because there's going to be ups and downs. Just ride it. Just seriously, just ride it. Because what else are you going to do?
You can push against it, which gives you more stress, right? Or you can go with the flow.
Just go with the flow. Isn't that one of the things they say about, like, an undertow? You just kind of, like, ride it and just go straight up, like, just.
Well, yeah, I think if you swim against it, I'm not a lifeguard, but if you swim against it,
like, just go up. All you can do is go up. I don't know what the hell I was just talking about, but I'm just trying to be
undertow and swimming.
Trying to get a T-shirt.
Yeah, I got you. So where do you want to go in the next 5 years? So one of the things I hear nowadays is, like, I'm going to just say a person's life has seasons.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, this season of my life is really evolving as who I am, growing my business, having a fun podcast, having these conversations. That's the season I'm in, right? When I'm 16 to 28, my season was like, okay, I'm doing my jiu-jitsu school, I'm going to PT school, and, like, let's mingle with girls.
Mm-hmm.
What's your season for the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, buy a building for the barbershop. Second, I really want to get into real estate, not like being a real estate agent. I want to buy real estate. So I want to buy a house, buy a shop with an apartment of it or some kind of garage, something to rent. Then I also want to buy a condo in New Hampshire and then, start my empire that way and just be happy, calm, and good husband, good father, and a great martial artist, and just keep growing. And setting goals. Right?
Setting goals.
Setting goals and smashing them.
Right? Because before you came here, did you set goals?
No, I didn't do nothing.
And where did that get you? Because this Bobby and the Bobby I knew 15 years ago are totally different.
Yeah, I don't know.
This one's Robert.
Yeah, this one got me, why did it get me? Before this, not much. I was kind of neutral.
Right.
I was kind of neutral.
I learned that if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything.
Yeah, I was asleep at the stoplight. That's what I was. I was just sitting there.
Yeah. And what made you decide to change?
That fear. The fear of, I don't know, maybe it was the fear of getting beat down in life, I guess. Or maybe the fear of fighting was the fear of being beat down in life. I don't know. I lost a lot of friends. I had a lot of friends die of drugs and suicide and just... And I was like, I can't do this. I can't. You know, I hung with the riffraff. It was funny because I had this friend, Timmy Westell, and we were best buddies from elementary school. It was me, him, Dave Riccio, and Joe Zinni. Shout out to those guys. I don't even know where you guys are at. But there was the four of us. And I remember in high school, I started to, you know, you got your friends, like, you're like, hey, let's go to the float committee meeting. And I was like, this is stupid. But that's where everybody went. So I would go to it, and I was like, this is kind of dumb. And then I had the other guys like, hey, man, let's go hang out in the barn. Let's go, you know.
Drink,
yeah, do whatever, party up. So I'm like, it's a little more fun. And I remember we were at a party, and it was all those guys. And I was like, Tim, this is lame. And I remember he said, I'm going to stay here. You go do what you got to do. And I left. And that's when it was like, you know, they always say that's the path in life. You get like principals say it, teachers, and you're like, yeah, okay. But it really wasn't. I just went that way.
the wrong way.
The wrong way.
How long were you on that road?
I was on that road until my buddy Austin, he killed himself. And I remember we got the call. I went over and we saw him.
How old were you?
Oh, it was like a couple of years before here, so maybe 20, 21.
Okay.
Actually, do the math. It was 03. So yeah, so I was like 22. And then I started here a year after.
And how did that,
I was like, I can't hang out with these dudes, you know?
Because what's going to happen?
Like, am I next? Like, you know, like, because there was mystery to it. Was it a suicide? Was it whatever? Like, so you hear stories, and I was like, I don't want any part of this at all. It was crazy.
And I think, you know, stuff happens in life, and it can be a lesson learned, right? Yeah. And just seeing what's happening to all your friends made you decide to not go down that path anymore.
I couldn't. My dad, too, was like, maybe you should. Yeah. Because that's when I started UPS too. So I was like, maybe you should get a serious job. So
once you started to train in the martial arts,
yep,
we're kind of getting on the right path now.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to like fully embrace that path? Like, did you go back to like that lifestyle or like?
So I always was the guy, when I went into something, I went full into it. Because I remember when I was in elementary school or something, it was when like Sports Center first came out. And I remember we were sitting around and the guys were talking sports, and I like said a stupid fact that wasn't even real. And I felt so dumb that I just fully embraced myself in sports, where I was like, actually. So when I go into something, I go deep.
Okay.
Yeah. Or, man, when I started yoga, I came in with a yoga backpack. I got the yoga
beads. Yeah, I got beads.
I go deep.
Okay.
So I go deep.
Yeah, so
because I don't want to be called a poser.
I got you. So know? Some of I don't think they've used that term since 1994.
No, yeah.
But so for you, with someone with that kind of personality, then it's even more important to pick the right path, because you're going to go all in, OCD, right or wrong.
Yeah, OCD, man. I go deep.
So that's not always a bad thing. So when we talk about someone's watching this right now,
mm-hmm.
They want to make a change in their life. Maybe they have even similar stories, upbringings to you.
Yeah.
But they haven't fully embraced the new lifestyle, the new path. What are you going to tell them right now? What do they need to hear?
Embrace the uncomfortable.
Tell me more.
So embrace, like, it's going to be painful. It's going to be, you're going to feel embarrassed. Maybe you're going to feel like, I don't know this. Because that's one of the things I've had with your system, because it's a lot of remembering stuff.
Sure.
And I've always had this fear of, like, I don't know if I have the right answer. And I can thank Mr. Sproles for that, one of the worst math teachers of all time. No, because he made me feel terrible about not knowing math. And a teacher shouldn't do that.
100%. I agree with that.
So from 9th grade on, I've always had anxiety of, like, everything's wrong. And I think that's why we started doing privates, because you took me out of, because I can't focus when I'm in groups.
I remember that.
Yeah, I can't focus in groups because I don't want to be wrong. I get nervous. I don't want to be like, he doesn't know. So it's like this inner thing that I have. So just embrace it. Just feel uncomfortable. You know, like if Mark's got you doing a plank after punching stuff from kickboxing, like just embrace it. And if you have to go to your knees, you got to go to your knees. I used to cheat all the time for when we did push-ups. Bill Marcello will tell you. I taught him how to like lean on your cup. So when we were doing those push-ups but it's just you could find a way. Like, you know, like Bruce Lee says, flow like water.
So there's always a way.
Yeah, so embrace it. Just embrace the chaos, embrace it, and just because you're gonna feel great on the other end. It's gonna stink at first, but
yeah. And would you say the biggest thing is just to get started?
Yeah.
Get started now.
Yep.
We talk about everything being reps, right? And the more reps you do in something, the better you get.
Yeah.
If I just started playing guitar, and you were my teacher, you shouldn't be like, well, that sucked. Be like, yeah, I've done the guitar twice.
Yeah.
I don't even know which way to hold it.
Exactly.
So, and getting back to your teacher thing, a teacher should always uplift the student so they feel comfortable. Once someone feels comfortable, they can excel. If you're living in a state of anxiety or survival, you can't, because you're thinking with your survival brain, right? And your survival brain, the way you think, is much different than one who's more calm, can kind of see more stuff, versus just having tunnel vision and making the wrong decision.
I'm very lucky in life because I got you. Like every teacher that I've had after that, you know, because I do multiple martial arts. Like I'm very fortunate that everybody that I've encountered in life has been incredible. Like,
do you think you've attracted them to you?
Maybe because I had a friend, and I still do, Eric Spicely. I grappled too, and, you know, I would always kind of get beat up a little bit and will always get beat up. And Eric was he would always invite me to these like random classes that he had. And I'm like, why is this guy inviting me? And I remember one time I asked him, he's like, because you're a good dude, man. Like everything's like, this is just, you're in here, we're fighting to the death. It's just how it is. But when we leave here, it just makes the rest of the world easy.
So
you die in here, and then when there's pain, there's joy.
When you did the podcast with the Jiu-Jitsu girls previously, and one of the things I believe Amanda said to me was that when you start grappling and you have people on top of you in all these different positions, it makes regular life a lot easier because you're used to being uncomfortable. And I thought that was such a profound thing for her to say. And she's like 110 pounds, right? She could have a 200-pound man, you know, laying on her, and you can kind of see it. She's like, now I don't have a problem telling people no. Right? So give a shout out to your barbershop. You know, what do you do there? Tell me a little bit about that before we sign off.
Okay, so it's the Local Barbershop in Attleboro, Mass, 81 Pleasant Street, right next door to Union Cycle. Union Cycle, I say that because it's been around 35 years. Right next door to Papagallo's, one of the best restaurants in Attleboro as well.
They also have to pay me for that plug.
Yeah,
just so you know.
Gotta say that. I told you said shout out, so I get a ton of them. We're full scale barbershop, appointment only.
Men, women, children?
So, because of Sensei Mark, I had a problem with younger children, where like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It was really chaotic. I get nervous because I want to chop their ears off, or
I get two,
but I don't want to make their barbershop experience like algebra with Mr. Sproles.
Gotcha.
I don't want that. So I asked you how to fix that problem. You said, well, I only take kids at 5 years old because they're in school and they know how to deal with adults. So kids 5 and up, but if you got a kid and I'm friends with you and, you know, we can maybe work something out, but just know I'm going to not really talk to you the whole time because I'm going to have anxiety.
But you do a great job.
I do a great job.
No kids have been hurt.
No kids. Right. No kids. Kids. So I do 5 years old and up. I get specials for seniors, specials for military, police. I even hook up ACI guards or prison guards.
So if anybody needs a haircut, they come see you.
If anybody needs a haircut, come see me. Prices are online. What else?
Just tell me what you love most about being a barber.
What I love most about being a barber is, it's one, you get to talk a lot, but another thing that kind of popped up recently, it was I went to the Stop and Shop down the street from our shop, and it was so weird. I was in line and I hear somebody go, "My man," and I'm like, "Who?" Because I'm kind of like, I might seem like really out there right now. Once I'm comfortable with you, I kind of let loose, but I'm usually kind of like standoffish. Mark will tell you, we were walking downtown, door opened, I stepped back like this. I was ready.
You didn't step back, you jumped back.
I jumped back. I was in stance, and
me and Marquetti were like,
"What?" Yeah, and it was a family.
Getting out of a car.
Getting out of a minivan. But I'm very standoffish, so it was really cool. And then I looked up, and it was one of my clients, a high school kid, and he's like, "Oh man,
it's a good feeling.
It's a great feeling." So I guess the feeling is the love that people give me.
Sure.
It's just really awesome. I love being a barber. I always loved getting a haircut when I was a kid. I just, like yesterday I did a 12-hour shift, and I didn't even realize it. It just went by with ease. I only realized it when I missed my fantasy draft.
So that means you're following your passion.
I just love it. Yeah, it's great. It's a challenge every haircut. So every you meet somebody new, which is, you never know how it is. You know, you try to ask a few questions. They're not talking. So like, all right, they're the dude who doesn't talk during the haircut. So I get joy out of it. I get joy, happiness, being my own boss, which is great. But it makes it hard working at my other job because I'm like, you guys don't know how to run stuff, you know.
Right.
But I get it. You know, it's a lot of stress at that place too. So no crapping on that. So I guess just being my own boss, being the man.
Yeah, and helping people.
Yeah.
Well, this was a great podcast.
Thank you.
I'm glad you finally came on the podcast.
Yeah, you know, we had to get the money situated and everything, you know. Can I give my shout outs? Yeah.
I'm probably going to make a couple G's on this podcast.
All right.
But we'll have to do this again, and I thank you for sharing.
Yep. Thank you, man.
Hey guys, Dr. Mark here. Now, I know a lot of you want to know how we get all these amazing results with our clients, and it comes down to 3 things. The first is fun fitness classes that burn a lot of calories. 2 is giving you an accountability coach to make sure you stay on track and get the best results. And 3 is the nutrition. Included in the nutrition is our food supplements. So we pair with Prestige Labs because I feel they're the best, they have integrity, and they get great results. These are actually the supplements that I take as well. Here's the awesome part. By clicking the link below, you can save 40% off the retail price. So you need that link to actually save 40%. If you just go to the normal site without my link, you're paying full price, okay? So these are the supplements my clients use. If you are interested, definitely click the link below and it'll tell you all about them.